Welcome. Welcome to our this evening's Facebook Live virtual town meeting about the Arizona unemployment insurance. We have staff from the Arizona Department of Economic Security here with us this evening to answer some questions. Thank you for submitting questions to us ahead of time so that we are able to ask those. We'll be able to answer questions. If you have questions right now, as we go through the presentation, please submit those questions in the comment section. Thank you all for joining us. I am Lena Fowler, Coconino County Supervisor, and thank you for joining us. We have Jeremiah from the Department of Economic Security here with us. She has a presentation to share. We're going to go right into our presentation and then go through some of the questions that you have submitted. And then at the end, those that are coming in will be able to answer those. We also have Glenn Campbell from the Arizona Department of DES with us, and Miranda Morales, who is my staff assistant that is also with us, and Eric Peterson, who also has set this up for us. He is the Coconino County Public Affairs Director. Really thankful for his department to be able to set this Zoom meeting for us. So we're gonna go right into the presentation. Jeremiah will introduce herself properly. Jeremiah. Oh.
Make sure I unmute. Thank you so much, Supervisor Fowler. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to people today, and I hope that this information helps people and that we get a lot of questions answered. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that people can see the presentation. Just give me a moment here to get set up. And Supervisor Fowler, let me know when you can see the presentation.
Yes, I can see it now. Thank you.
All right, so welcome. We are going to be talking about the unemployment compensation in Arizona. I just want to do a quick disclaimer at the beginning of this presentation. We won't be able to answer claim-specific or claimant-specific questions just due to the public nature of this event, but we hope to provide general information that will be helpful for a wide variety of people. So we wanted to start by showing some of the Arizona UI claims activity between benefit week ending March 28th and benefit week ending June 20th. So it's even been a few weeks since we pulled the data. DES administered 1.7 billion in regular unemployment insurance benefit payments and 2.5 billion in pandemic unemployment assistance benefit payments. And we'll talk about both of those programs here shortly. It's the number of initial applications for unemployment insurance increased from an average of about 3,000 per week to a high of over 132,000 in 1 week. And the continuing unemployment weekly certifications increased from an average of 18,000 to a high of over 226,000. DES is handling well over 8,000 calls per day compared to an average of 500 calls per day at the beginning of the year. We have seen in that same time period between March 28th and June 20th, over 677,000 new claims for regular UI and 596,000 new claims for pandemic unemployment assistance. This compares to just under 60,000 new claims over the same time period last year. To support this work, DES has onboarded hundreds of additional staff members. We've implemented the hiring of a contracted call center to increase the capacity of the call agents and added staff from all over the department and the state of Arizona from other programs to resolve issues with claims and assist in taking calls. Also just want to show you, I know this is one of the frequently asked questions that Supervisor Fowler said that they received. Yes.
I'm going to interrupt because the screen, we cannot fully see your screen.
All right. Let's see what I can do here. Let me try to unshare and share again. Is it working now?
It is still the same. It's not, it's cutting it off for some reason. Eric, are you there? Are you able to help us? Maybe it's on our end over here. But I think
I'm seeing it full screen on my end.
Jeremy, I'll pull up the PDF and we can just tell me when to go to the next slide and such. Does that work for you?
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep, not a problem.
Cindy, is that you that just called in? No, I don't think that's Cindy. We can see the full screen now. So, okay, back to you, Jeremy.
Okay.
Maybe go back to, okay, this is what we, okay, I see. All right, go ahead.
Okay. So if you just want to advance another slide for me, Eric, please. Great. So I know that one of the questions that Supervisor Fowler said she receives a lot is, what does the current caseload look like and what are kind of some of the wait times? So if you look here, this is data that is updated as of July 11th. We have over hold on, let me make sure I'm reading this right. So there are approximately 30,000 regular unemployment insurance claims that are pending adjudication, of which about 20,000 were filed within the last 4 weeks. So definitely still a backlog that we are working on. And as this mentions, we have onboarded about 600 new staff to work through these issues. And we continue to onboard to hopefully get that down even lower. Claims for the pandemic unemployment assistance program continue to rise in the hundreds of thousands. We have flagged many of them as potential fraud that will need further review. But we have made significant progress in identifying case types and patterns to release payments to those claimants that are filing valid claims. For more data, you can visit the UI data dashboard. So if you do a search on the DES website for that, you can view public data related to unemployment compensation. We can go ahead and move on to the next slide. All right, so getting into our programs, the Arizona Regular Unemployment Insurance Program. So this is the traditional program that most people are familiar with when they think about unemployment. It provides up to 26 weeks of benefits for individuals unemployed through no fault of their own. There is a monetary eligibility criteria. To qualify for benefits, you must have worked for an employer who paid unemployment tax or reimburses unemployment insurance for benefits paid. And you must have earned at least 390 times the current Arizona minimum wage, $12 an hour in calendar year 2020, or $4,680 in your highest earning quarter, and a total of half of that amount in your high quarter has to be earned within one or more of the other 3 quarters. or you have at least $7,000 in total wages in at least 2 quarters of the base period, with wages in 1 quarter equal to $5,987.50 or more. Your weekly benefit amount for regular UI is calculated at 1/25th of your high quarter earnings. There's a minimum weekly benefit amount of $187 and a maximum of $240. And if you don't qualify for regular unemployment insurance and you are unemployed, we will talk about that program in a couple of slides. But I do want to talk about the next program, which was authorized by the CARES Act, and that's the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Program, which is on the next slide, Eric. Thank you. This is available for eligible weeks between March 29th, 2020 through July 25th, 2020. Many of you will know of this as the additional $600 a week in unemployment insurance benefits. It is for unemployment insurance benefits, the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program, extended benefits, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, shared work, and the Trade Readjustment Assistance Program. The claimant must be eligible for at least $1 of unemployment compensation in order to receive the $600 FPUC payment. And we'll talk about how your weekly benefit amount might be reduced in a future slide. So moving on, I want to spend some time here on the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. This was the program that was designed for people who are not eligible for regular unemployment insurance, but are unemployed as a direct result of COVID-19. And there are a number of specific reasons listed in the CARES Act that you must fall under in order to qualify for this program. It is available for eligible weeks between February 2nd, 2020 to December 26th, 2020. It provides up to 39 weeks of benefits for individuals who are unemployed as a direct result of COVID-19. Weeks under which a person received regular UI or extended benefits are deducted from the 39 weeks. However, there are an additional 7 weeks if we trigger onto a high unemployment period. The weekly benefit amount is calculated the same as regular UI at 1/25th of your high quarter earnings. However, there is a different minimum weekly benefit amount, which is $117. And another thing that is different from regular UI is that if you did not receive any wages in the base period, which is calendar 2019, so say you were supposed to start a job, but you weren't able to start a job because it closed due to COVID-19, then you would qualify for the minimum weekly benefit amount. That's the same if you did not earn, we went through the monetary eligibility. If you earned insufficient wages, you would also qualify for the minimum weekly benefit amount. The maximum weekly benefit amount is $240, just like regular UI. There is a notice of potential eligibility for PUA that is mailed to individuals who receive a notice of monetary ineligibility for regular UI. So many of you might have received this if you filed for regular unemployment insurance and were determined monetarily ineligible. Moving on, the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation, or PEUC program, was also authorized under Section 2107 of the CARES Act. It is available for eligible weeks between March 29th, 2020 through December 26th, 2020. It provides an additional 13 weeks of benefits for individuals who exhausted regular unemployment insurance on or after July 6, 2020 and remain unemployed. The weekly benefit amount is based on the individual's regular UI claim. So if you receive $240 in your regular UI claim, you would receive that same under PEUC. Again, claimants do receive a notice of potential eligibility for PEUC that is mailed to them when they exhaust their regular unemployment insurance benefits. And also to note, you must remain unemployed. However, it doesn't have to be as a direct result of COVID-19, like the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. Moving on to extended benefits. The extended benefit period began on June 14th, 2020, but due to the program we just talked about, PEUC, no individual could have become eligible for extended benefits before June 28th, 2020. However, that is available now, and an individual is eligible for extended benefits if, in addition to meeting the applicable state law provisions, so qualifying for regular UI, all of the following requirements are met. You must file for extended benefits. You must certify weekly of your continued eligibility for extended benefits. You must have exhausted regular UI or otherwise and still otherwise qualify for unemployment benefits. You have to certify that you have no rights to regular unemployment compensation under the law of any other state or of Canada. You must have exhausted PEUC benefits. And this is what's very important. At least 1 week of the claimant's regular benefit year has to begin in the extended benefit period. So has to begin June 14th, 2020 or later. The claimant must, of course, be able to work, available for work, and actively seeking work in accordance with the flexibilities implemented for regular UI. So for example, we know that there is a temporary suspension of the actively seeking work requirement at the moment due to a governor's executive order. A little bit more about extended benefits. The weekly benefit amount is based on the individual's regular UI claim. So again, if you received the minimum, so 187 under regular UI, that's what you would receive under extended benefits. There's a little bit of a difference in that the total extended benefit amount payable to an eligible individual with respect to the individual's applicable benefit year is computed at the lesser of the two. So either 50% of the total amount of regular compensation during the benefit year or 13 times the weekly benefit amount. So for example, if you only qualified for 10 weeks of regular UI benefits, you would only qualify for 5 weeks of extended benefits. And once again, there is a notice of potential eligibility for extended benefits. One thing to pay attention to in this notice is that there is an application access code that is mailed out to potentially eligible individuals when they exhaust regular UI and PEUC that they use to then apply for extended benefits. So I just want to spend some time with this up on the screen. I know this is something that Supervisor Fowler and her team said that definitely there's some questions on. How do I actually apply for benefits? So all of our programs, UI, PUA, PEUC, and extended benefits, you can apply online. However, with extended benefits, like I said, you have to receive that notice first with your access code and then go to azui.com to apply. You can apply by phone for these benefits with all of the programs, but again, you would have to have for extended benefits that notice with the access code to apply by phone. You can apply by paper for regular UI, for pandemic emergency unemployment compensation, and for extended benefits. You actually, for extended benefits, receive the application with your notice. For pandemic unemployment assistance, we hope to have that application, paper application available to the general public very soon. And that will be available on the website. For filing weekly certifications, you can file them online or by paper for all of the programs. And then I wanted to put up on the screen just briefly, this is the kind of flow of the programs. If you are eligible for regular unemployment, so you worked, generally what I tell people is if you receive a W-2, chances are, and you worked full time, you would be eligible for regular UI. That's not always true, but it's just a little kind of quick trick. You apply for regular unemployment compensation. Once you exhaust regular unemployment, you go to pandemic emergency unemployment compensation. Once you exhaust that, you go to extended benefits if we're triggered on in the state, which we are right now. And then if you exhaust all three of those, you go to pandemic unemployment assistance. And with all of these, for the weeks between March 29th, 2020 through July 25th of 2020, you also get the additional $600 FPUC payment as long as you're eligible for at least $1 in benefits. For PUA, because you're not eligible for the regular unemployment programs, you go directly into PUA rather than going through the regular progression noted on the screen. All right, this is the next one. Go ahead.
So I have a question. Okay, something is wrong with the.
Go ahead, Supervisor Fowler. We'll have Jeremy unmute after you ask your question.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we're good. Go ahead.
Is that better? Okay, so there are so many programs right there that you just outlined. It seems so very confusing. When people think about unemployment, it's just like one program, but you have a variety of programs. Plus you have the federal $600 per month, and that ends the end of July. So this is a real process that people have to go through to be able to obtain the benefits. Thank you, Eric. And welcome, Cindy. Glad you're able to join us. So if you have any questions, Cindy, ask. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Fowler, and we absolutely understand. It was a lot for us to get all of the information, the legislation and the regulations and the guidance from the Department of Labor in order to implement these programs. We understand how confusing it is, and we are trying to push out as much information as possible. If for those of you that do have regular internet access, azui.com is a wonderful resource. It has all of the, frequently asked questions. It has this chart. It has many additional resources that you can use. And if we have a little bit of time at the end, we can go through the site and I can point out where some of this information is available. But I just wanted to point out on this slide, and if you could just go through one more slide, Eric. This slide shows, it kind of gives you just a one-pager, tries to make it a little bit more digestible on all of the programs. So we have regular UI here in gray, and it shows when you're eligible or when you should apply for regular UI and what you would get. Same thing for pandemic unemployment assistance, pandemic emergency unemployment compensation, and then the federal pandemic unemployment compensation, or FPUC, which is the additional $600 per week. And I do just want to say that we also recognize at DES that it has been tremendously difficult to get in contact with someone. We have backlogs in our call queues with all of our constituent services, with our ombudsmen, with our client advocates, with our regular staff. We know that it's been difficult, and retroactive benefits are available. So even if you have to file your claim late because you didn't get the information you needed, you're going to get your retroactive benefits for all of the weeks that you were eligible. I know that is maybe not the greatest thing to hear when you need the money right now, and I really do apologize, but I do want to let you know that that is our commitment, that A, we are going to try to get through everything as quickly as possible, and B, we will make sure that you receive the benefits to which you are entitled, even if those are in the past. So we can go ahead and move forward. Another frequently asked question that came from the team up in Coconino County is that how does receiving unemployment benefits impact an individual's other benefits? So individuals that receive UI may also qualify for other benefits such as access, nutrition assistance, cash assistance. So you can apply for all of these programs if they're new, these are new to you, or you just want to maybe visit and understand more at healthearizonaplus.gov. There's also a toll-free number here that you can call that's available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. I just want to say that the extra $600 per week FPUC or payment is not counted against most eligibility for programs, but I have a little chart here that helps people understand. So for access, which is medical assistance, FPUC is not counted. Regular UI payments and pandemic unemployment assistance payments are counted. For nutrition assistance, so that's SNAP or food stamps, that is counted. The income for FPUC, UI, and PUA is all counted. For cash assistance, which you might know as TANF, none of those programs are counted against eligibility. So that might just help you understand a little bit about how unemployment benefits might impact your other benefits.
What about,
Right.
oh, it's doing it again.
Go ahead, Supervisor. We'll have Jeremy unmute after you ask your question.
Thank you. Okay, are we good now? Okay. What about people that receive SSI, Social Security, veterans benefits, veterans disability benefits, and then retirement, somebody that has retired and now has to go back to work?
Yeah, absolutely. So those are, I want to separate those into two, and I will just say you do have both of those in the questions that we'll go through later. But generally speaking, Social Security and veterans benefits are not counted as income for regular UI and shouldn't affect your ability to receive benefits. However, a pension does count as income, and it is allocated based on the pension award. So that is something that you would report on your initial claim, and then the team would allocate out over your claim. So that kind of varies based on what the type of pension is.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on, I wanted to talk a little bit about how, working part-time or reduced hours impacts your claim. So one of the questions is, do I qualify for UI if I only worked part-time? Or if I work part-time, how does that impact my benefits? So it is possible that a part-time worker is eligible for unemployment insurance. Unemployment benefits depend on the individual circumstances. So whether you receive regular UI benefits and how much you're entitled to each week depends on how much you earn during the base period. To qualify for regular UI benefits, we already talked about this, so I won't go into it again, but there is that monetary eligibility piece. So if you worked part-time and you met the monetary eligibility criteria, you might qualify for regular UI, provided you meet the other eligibility criteria. However, if you worked part-time and then are unemployed as a direct result of COVID-19, you don't meet the criteria for regular unemployment insurance, but you should file for PUA because you might be eligible for that program. And then moving forward one slide, we just wanted to talk a little bit about for people who still are working part-time, so you're working reduced hours. Maybe your employer said, I can only keep you on 10 hours a week. So it's not going to impact your eligibility, but it will impact your weekly benefit amount. So when filing your weekly claim, you have to report all of your earnings, and earnings over $30 in a single week are deducted from that week's benefit amount. So there's an example here. If you qualify for the maximum weekly benefit amount of $240 and you receive $180 in earnings, you work for that week, $50 of your earnings would be deducted from the maximum benefit amount, and you would receive $90. And until July 25th, the extra $600 FPUC payment for that claim. However, under the same example, If you earn $240 or more during the week, you would not be eligible for any benefits for that week. So as soon as you hit your weekly benefit amount, you're not eligible for benefits anymore. And because you're not eligible for any benefits that week, you also would not qualify for the $600 FPUG payment. So it just gives you a little bit of insight into how part-time work might impact your claim. So then this slide is just some additional unemployment insurance resources. Like I said, www.azui.gov is a wealth of information about unemployment, about all of the CARES Act programs pertaining to unemployment. There's information about what to expect after applying, how to apply for PUA, guidance for employers and employees on returning to work, which we know is important right now as people may have returned to work and then, had to leave again. There's frequently asked questions. There's the data that I talked about, that UI dashboard. And there's also a spot where you can report suspected fraud. Like I said, we're experiencing a lot of fraudulent claim activity. And if you suspect that you were a victim of identity theft, you can report that fraud via that website. If you have specific questions regarding your claim, the best option is still to contact the UI call center. There's some numbers here that you can use to contact. Like I said, we are onboarding people all the time so that we can manage the call volume, and we are also trying to process claims as quickly as possible so people don't feel like they have to continuously call. So that is it for the presentation, but Supervisor Fowler, I know that you have some questions that you had received that you wanted to ask, so I will let you go ahead and ask those questions.
Back to the contact number. Thank you, Eric. So back to the contact phone numbers. People have reported that they've been on the phone for over 4 hours and no one has answered, or they were just on hold. If they're able to stay on for 4 hours or however long it is, or else they get disconnected and they're not able to, otherwise they're not able to contact anyone for, in some cases, over 3 weeks. And how is that handled? Is there a consideration that is that's given them because they have tried and they're not able to contact someone?
Jeremy, you'll need to unmute. Sorry, I muted you.
I apologize. I'll remember that. Yes, Supervisor Fowler, I understand we have received quite a bit of, it's a massively high call volume and, requests for information through any possible channel. We know that people will find an email address and they'll just start emailing. The best way to get your questions answered is still to use that 1-800 number. I would also just give people a few tips. One, anytime you receive information from the department requesting additional information, please provide it. That is something that will help us work the claims faster. Don't provide it more than once. That just creates additional workload that slows down the whole process, but definitely provide it. If you see that there's an issue on your claim, you can absolutely view your claim and see what's going on in the online portals, both for regular UI and PUA. I know this is not a great answer, but it really is. If you call the call center and get in touch with someone, they can help work through your claim. But I just want to reiterate that we are working as quickly as we can to process that backlog that we have, so people feel like they don't need to continue calling.
Thank you. Oh. Thank you. And so thank you so much for joining us this evening. This is a presentation on the Arizona unemployment insurance. And we have we have Jeremiah here with us. We have Cindy Wilson, who is our Workforce Development Director with Coconino County. We have Eric Peterson, who is our Public Affairs Director for Coconino County, that is helping us with the technology. And then we have also Miranda Morales, who is my Executive Assistant here with us, and Glenn Campbell from the Arizona Department of DES. This is the time to ask your questions. We have had so many calls, so many emails, Facebook messages, any way that people can message us. And so we thought that this would be a very good way to get some more information out to the general public. Everyone in the state of Arizona hopefully will be able to find this virtual town hall very helpful, because right now in with the pandemic that is happening, you know, it has really impact us individually, our family, and our whole communities. And for us to really understand what is going on and when our next paycheck is going to come, when it comes to unemployment, and when we're not working, it is really important to have the correct information. I know there's a lot of hearsays that go on, and we just don't know which one is true. So right now we have the experts here, and you can ask your questions. And we're going to go to questions that have been submitted to us earlier this week. And Cindy and I are going to take turns. And Cindy, you have any questions for Jeremiah on the presentation that was just presented before we go into questions?
I do. I had a call today from a resident of the Navajo Nation, and the Navajo Nation is still on lockdown, so her employer cannot open. She realized she is eligible for regular UI and is receiving both her regular UI and the $600. And her question to me was, have we heard if this is going to be extended? It is supposed to end at the end of this month, and she was very worried about how she was going to be able to pay her bills. I did reassure her that she would continue to get her UI, but maybe not the $600, and that I hadn't heard yet of any extensions. Can you talk about that, Jeremiah?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the question, Cindy. That is the number one question on everyone's minds. Is there going to be an extension? Right now, we have not heard anything to suggest that we will have an extension for sure. We've heard a lot of chatter. Over there on Capitol Hill, a lot of people are very interested in extending it, and then a lot of people aren't. So we don't have any definitive information on if that will be extended. We are prepared to stand up an extension should that happen. We definitely will do that as fast as we can if they slightly change it, which is a possibility, right? But at this point, no, we have not heard anything about there being an extension to the extra $600.
Thank you. And that's a great lead into the next question. And so, there was a struggle to get this started when it got announced overnight almost, and totally understand what you guys had to go through. I'm part of your team here in Northern Arizona, and but you said something that made me have hope, and that is you're ready if it extends. And did I hear you say that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it would be, so what we're dealing with is a very old unemployment insurance system. It is, it was built in the 80s. And as you know, technology has come a long way since then, and that system has not. So when we have to make changes to it, because, you know, lots of legislation has come out over the years, and like little things get tinkered with here and there. There's programming that's involved, and it takes a long time to do that and to make sure that we don't jeopardize the benefits that people are receiving. So if we just have to extend the program, that should be relatively easy, and we're ready to do that. If there is a change to that program, like, you know, that might take some time, but we will work as fast as we can to make that happen. So I would say, you know, we will do the best we can. And you are absolutely right. Their base state benefit amount, so that somewhere between 187 and 240 for regular UI and 117 and 240 for pandemic unemployment assistance will be there. And that will continue to be provided.
Thank you.
So there are a lot of questions about the Bank of America. Apparently the unemployment, your department uses the Bank of America card. Some people had thought they had some, you know, they still had a balance in there, and then they go back and it's all gone, or they're having issues with the card. Could you explain how that works and what the issues are with that and what you're doing to resolve those issues?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Supervisor Fowler. So as I mentioned earlier, DES has implemented numerous fraud indicators to detect and prevent criminal behavior with our unemployment insurance systems. We've been closely monitoring and running queries to identify fraud. And since we put these monitoring measures in place, tens of thousands of claims that had payments distributed were found to contain a high probability of being fraudulent. And this is based on information passed down by the United States Secret Service, by the Treasury, and by Bank of America themselves. So the most recent action that was taken to close suspicious accounts and recover funds only affected individuals with claims filed out of the state, is what we were told. There were about 28,000 accounts that were impacted by the closures, the vast majority which were fraudulent. And we have recouped over 70 million in taxpayer funds from those fraudulent accounts. We are actively working with affected claimants who believe they are eligible for benefits and were wrongly caught up in this sweep. And we have established a specific email address for these claimants, and that is AZUI fraud. So AZUI FRAUD at azdes.gov in order to assist those claimants further. Claimants will need to send in a picture of themselves holding their government issued ID, and they'll need to tell us what their claimant ID is so we can assist them. I know that's not ideal, but this email address was set up to quickly get resolution for these claimants. I will ask that email address is specifically for these claimants, and it is not designed to address other unemployment insurance issues or situations. So if you are not one of the people impacted by the Bank of America account closures, I would not use that website as a means to contact the department.
Thank you. Another question, someone was informed that they received overpayment. What does that individual do if they are told that they've had overpayment?
Yeah, so overpayments will be required to be paid back to DES. If they received direction from the department, it is likely an overpayment determination, and it has instructions for how to repay that overpayment. However, if you just believe you have received benefits to which you were not entitled, maybe you applied in the wrong account or the wrong system to begin with, or you found out that you weren't actually eligible, you can report it to DES by emailing the wage audit unit at azdes.gov. And again, overpayments, so, benefits to which you were not entitled, that's what an overpayment is, I probably should have started there, will be required to be paid back to DES.
I have another question. Someone has filed for their unemployment, but they haven't received it yet. What kind of a time frame? They got a notice that they were eligible for $238, so there was an actual amount, but they are wondering how long will it take for them to get started? Yeah,
so it really depends, right? So if you have a claim and you file a claim and you're given your determination and you get $238 a week, the claim becomes effective the Sunday in which they are filed. So our weeks of unemployment are just like the calendar week. They start on a Sunday and they end on a Saturday. So a claim filed, for example, on June 20th would have an effective date of June 14th. And then you would do your weekly certification the following Sunday, June 21st, and the payment would be generated June 22nd. However, if you have an issue on your claim, so if there is some information on your claim that you have provided that suggests that you may not be eligible, or there's additional information that the department needs, those timeframes are a little bit up in the air right now. So normally we would say 21 days. We have 21 days to provide resolution on your claim. We know that there are a lot of issues that are sitting out there that are older than this, and we are working as hard as we can to get caught up and to start meeting that time frame again. But I would say, again, just some tips for people: if the department has asked you for additional information, even if it says something along the lines of provide this information in a week and a week has passed, send the information in. That is, the notices were generated in the time of non-pandemic time, and so where timelines were a little bit different, and we will certainly take that into account. So I would absolutely encourage people to do that. Don't send your documents in more than once, because then we just end up with a bunch of duplicates, but definitely respond if the department asks you for information.
Thank you.
So if people have not received a response, should they keep filing every Sunday? You just said don't provide more information now. Does that mean that you don't file every Sunday anymore, or is that actual documents that the department may be requesting for?
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to clarify. Yes, please keep filing your weekly claims so that you can stay up to date. What I was referring to is exactly what you said. Don't send in duplicate documents. You should continue to file your weekly certifications starting every Sunday.
Lena, I think I've gone through all of my questions. Do you have any additional?
We have quite a few that was emailed in. So do you have your email? I know it's the Bank of America again, and I guess they just need to send that email out, and they will not be able to use that same account again and same card again. What they need to do is resolve the issue first. Then they'll be able to figure out which direction they're going.
Yeah, so we have to validate their identity and that they are a legitimate claimant. So what we have is a lot of people perpetrating fraud, stealing people's identities and applying for benefits on their behalf. So we need to verify that they are the Social Security number holder. And then once we do that, we can get a new account set up for them. They might choose to elect to use direct deposit, or they might choose to get another benefit card.
Okay, thank you. I was called back to work last week, and this is a part-time. I work at a gym part-time on a commission, earn $34. When I filled a claim today, should I select yes or no for the question, were you unemployed last week?
Yeah.
I would say yes. But after selecting yes, the screen shows my PUA ended and prompts me to explain why you're unemployed, why your unemployment is not a result of the pandemic, which is not true.
Absolutely. So this is a great question, and something that I had to learn when I started with the unemployment insurance program is that unemployed is defined by the federal government as a reduction in wages and hours. So you could still be working and be defined as unemployed. So for this person in particular, I would say that they should not have answered yes. They should have answered yes to, were you unemployed last week? So I'm not sure, and again, I can't answer specific claimant questions, but the pandemic unemployment assistance would have only ended if they said they were no longer unemployed. So that's important. When filing your weekly certification, you should answer all of the questions and prompts, the decision might have been as a result of another answer that was provided on the weekly certification. However, as we discussed in the presentation, it is absolutely possible that you might earn some wages in a week. You might have some earnings and still be eligible for benefits. So for this person, if they earned $34 in a week, they would still be eligible for benefits. Their benefit would only be reduced by $4 that week.
Okay, so someone received, was approved pandemic unemployment and was awarded $114 per week. That was a month and a half ago and has not received the payment. The last status when the person checked was that the claim was still it was being reviewed. What is the normal time? And that you kind of explained that there's a backlog right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have an outstanding issue with your regular unemployment claim or your pandemic unemployment assistance claim, our staff is working around the clock to address those outstanding issues, and you will be notified either if the department has made a decision or if you need to supply additional information. Your claim is going to be under review while the adjudicators, that's what our staff are called, continue to process the claim, and will notify you when a decision is made.
So if a person was denied, the application was denied, can they go back and resubmit their application again for a second review? Or
You
the
can.
Denial is a denial. How does that work?
That's a good question. So on your determination, you should be given the option to file an appeal or request a reconsideration. And both of those can be done on the azui.com website.
So I've got one here. It's from a young adult. So he's just started his first job in October, and he became unemployed in March because of the pandemic. He applied for unemployment, and his first application was denied as unable to locate earnings. Probably they hadn't hit the system yet. The reapplied a second time, was denied as he made less than the required amount. So then he's asking, do I qualify for PUA, and should I reapply then?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always encourage people, if you believe that you are eligible, to apply on pua.azdes.gov. Eligibility is, of course, determined on a case-by-case basis. But individuals under 18 may still be eligible as long as they meet the eligibility criteria in federal law, which is to say there is no age criteria for unemployment insurance. It's that, and for pandemic unemployment assistance, it's that you became unemployed as a direct result of the pandemic. So your job closed down due to COVID-19, your employer laid you off because of COVID-19, all of those scenarios that are listed in the CARES Act. So I would definitely encourage this young adult to apply.
Thank you.
So we are getting more comments about people not being able to, when they call the office, no, they're not able to get a response. Now, what is your advice when someone is calling in and multiple times, and we've had several individuals that have been calling for a couple of weeks, even 3 weeks, like I mentioned before, and there is still no answer. What is your advice for these individuals?
I don't have a great answer here. My advice is to keep calling. It's also to, like I said, respond to requests for information. If you stay, you can stay up to date on our social media. So if you happen to see something like the Bank of America account closures, there were posts on social media to discuss what had happened, and so people got a little bit more information there. We try to provide information via email, so I would also say make sure that you have an email when you apply. Make sure you include a valid email that you can get information from. But if you absolutely have to contact someone in the department, the call center is the best way to do that. And the other thing is, as we start working through claims and we're able to get them cleared, your issue might resolve even without you contacting the department. We have added a tremendous amount of staff in the call center, both on the DES side and with our contracted call center, and we continue to do so in order to address these claims.
So because they are not able to contact anyone from the office, are they missing out on the benefits that they are eligible for in any one of those categories that you outlined earlier?
So you will be able to receive all of your retroactive benefits. So if you became unemployed in March and you applied and your claim has been sitting, and that's a bad example because we have very few of those claims left, but say you applied 5 weeks ago and your claim is still sitting ready to be processed, you will still get all of those 5 weeks, and then the current week and whatever weeks you're eligible for moving forward. So retroactive benefits are absolutely available to you. And I just want to make a quick point because people are getting really nervous about this July 25th deadline. You will still be able to get your $600 FPUC for the previous weeks before July 25th, even if your claim is processed after July 25th.
And that would mean that they would have had to apply online, and the barrier, the holdup right now is in the DES office. So if somebody was trying to call in and apply, would they be retroactive? Did I say they hadn't applied yet? They've been trying to call in to apply. How would that work?
That's a good question, Cindy, and I would say that I can't give a blanket response on that one. We do have the ability to backdate a claim. So say for regular UI, to say, okay, well, you needed to apply in June, but you haven't been able to get through, so it's July. The adjudicator can look at the facts of the case and, generally speaking, with that scenario, be able to make that backdating. For the pandemic unemployment assistance program, we have to backdate it. So we have to take whatever it is. Your claim becomes effective the week you apply, but then we have to take whenever you became unemployed as the start of your claim. And that's all the way through the pandemic assistance period, which ends on December 26, 2020.
So what if someone was not able to log in on a Sunday? For some reason, it just didn't work out. So now they have missed out a, submitting their weekly report. Then how is that handled?
So they should try again on the next day. So if they could try again on Monday, Tuesday, they could also try and call in to have someone assist them. If you remember on that slide, we had some numbers to call. And I would also say that just generally speaking, if they're finding a big issue in applying, they should call in and to get some help. But one thing I do want to point out is that you can't file on Saturdays. And so that might be something that they're experiencing. If they're, whatever the time frame is, if they're actually on Saturday, that might be one of the issues.
So I've had individuals inform me that they're not able to connect because their internet is not working very well. And and they're not able to keep that connection. So when they go back again, they just are not able to file. So now that happened, and then they call and no one is answering. So how is there a way for them to go back and justify why they were not able to file on that particular week, and they can make sure that somehow, how is that resolved?
Yeah, so in regular UI, you can actually go back to file up to 2 weeks at a time. So if you missed out, you weren't able to file Sunday through Friday, of 1 week, you're able to go back that next week and file for 2 weeks at a time. In the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, you can apply for multiple weeks as well if you happen to miss one of the weeks that you needed to file, excuse me.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I know we have so many questions that we were not able to go through, answer, but I think a part of your presentation was able to address many of the questions that were asked, that were sent to us. And I want to thank you again for taking the time to join us. And thank you to all that have joined us on this Zoom Facebook Live. I think it is so important for us to understand the complex issue as to the unemployment. I know that we are really in tough situations right now. We have reopened our businesses, and then we have to close down again because the numbers that is still increasing. So now, more people are filing for unemployment, and there's so many more questions out there. But I hope that this was able to at least address some of the issues that you have faced, and maybe be able to use some of the information that was provided here, and be able to assist you and others that were not able to tune in, because we have recorded this, and I believe it stays on the Facebook. Is that correct, Eric? Could you explain that?
Absolutely. Thank you all. With this recording will be available shortly on our Facebook page at Coconino County, and it will stay there forever. And we also see a lot of comments there. And I know the Department of Economic Security has been posting some replies, and any county questions for the county, we will post answers as well on that page.
So maybe some part of what we will be doing is trying to answer some of the questions that have been posted to this Facebook Live, and be able to answer some of those comments. That way, you know, others may have the same question and they'll be able to read it and get an answer there. But we will share also the contact information, and we just want to be able to provide you some information. And we are way over, well, we went over our time. We want to thank you again for joining us, and thank you for tuning in. And we're also working on a KTNN live forum. KTNN does not doesn't have anyone, they won't allow anyone to come in to the station. So we will be recording, and with the expert skills of Eric, we'll be able to get it on KTNN as well. So thank you so much. Maybe other radio stations, because this is such an important topic, because, you know, everyone needs some finance to be able to pay for expenses. So thank you so much. With that, we will end our program here. Thank you again.